Another key US ally now appears to be stepping into the Iran conflict, as Volodymyr Zelensky makes a bold and risky move at sea. Ukraine strikes an alleged Iran-linked vessel, raising fears that one of Moscow's closest partners could respond with overwhelming fury. Zelensky makes his boldest move yet, despite Donald Trump openly backing both Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping on the global stage. Will Europe now find itself facing Mujtaba Khamenei's wrath after Ukraine's daring strike risks widening the already explosive conflict? Ukraine may now have placed itself directly in the crosshairs of America's widening war with Iran through its latest military operation. On July 25, Ukraine claimed it had successfully targeted Russian vessels allegedly linked to Iran while operating in the strategic Caspian Sea. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky personally revealed details of the operation, describing it as another major blow against Russia's military network. Zelensky claimed the Russian vessels that were attacked had been used to transport military cargoes allegedly connected to Iran's defense infrastructure. Zelensky said, and I quote, "Ukraine continues applying long-range sanctions in response to Russian strikes. Last night, the warriors of our defense forces hit targets across different regions of Russia that are fueling this war. Once again, a plant in Kirov was struck, the one supplying components for the weapons Russia uses to attack our people. That's about 1,200 kilometers from Ukraine's border. Also hit were an oil refinery in Tyman, a logistics facility in Yekaterinburg, and a fuel and lubricants depot in Rostov-on-Don. We also achieved very strong results with long-range strikes in the Caspian Sea, including vessels used in military cargo shipments involving Iran, as well as a warship." End quote. Zelensky's strike on the alleged Iran-linked Russian vessels comes at a time when the Middle East conflict is rapidly escalating into a wider regional confrontation. However, on July 24, US President Donald Trump claimed that neither Vladimir Putin nor Xi Jinping had provided any military support to Iran despite the ongoing war.
About Iran, what is the exit strategy?
Well, I think there's a lot of them. There's a military exit where we just keep going just the way we are, and we can even make it a heavier dose, and it's knocking out everything they have. Or there's a smarter strategy, and that's you make a deal, and they want to make a deal. I just don't think they're ready yet, but they do want to make a deal. Sometimes they don't want to say they want to make a deal. They want to be the tough guys, but they do want to make a deal. There's two ways. I mean, it's you can just keep doing exactly what we're doing and take them apart piece by piece. We can do it in a more rapid fashion, which we might do, or we can negotiate with them, which we're also doing right now. I mean, as we speak, we're talking to them.
And you said today that Russia and China are not helping. Earlier this week, the War Secretary Hegseth said that they are enabling. So what is the difference?
Well, I don't know that they're enabling. I mean, I will tell you that President Xi said he will not partake, and President Putin said the same thing. I think, I trust them. They've had a long-term relationship. There could be some things they do, but thus far, at least, it has not been major. I don't think they'd want to have me disappointed.
Follow up on Iran. Have you made a decision about the major strikes that you were referring to? Okay. Should we expect to see major strikes?
Look, we're talking to them right now. I think they're getting more and more serious as the days go by, for maybe the obvious reason. But we are talking to them right now. Look, there are two ways. I consider that the smarter way, but the other is probably the easier way, doing what we're doing. And we can take that to a much higher level if we want to. We're prepared to do that, as you know. We're locked and loaded. We're locked and loaded and ready to go, but we're talking to them, so I think while we're talking, we'll see what comes of it.
And when you say just a
I
quick follow-up.
I believe, Jeff, they're very serious. They should be.
And when you
We're
say
very
that
serious.
you're talking, is it Mr. Kushner or Mr. Witkoff, or who's involved in those talks?
Sort of everybody. JD and Marco and a lot of people are talking to. A lot of people to talk to. It's a big deal. But really, when you get right down to it, it's not very complex. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Very, very simple actually, but it's a big deal. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they have even a thought of a nuclear weapon, we would just continue to go at much higher levels. But we are talking right now, and we'll see what comes of it. I'm not, despite what everyone says about the election, I'm not in a hurry. We have to do it right. Elections take care of themselves. When when I went into Venezuela, everybody was against it. Oh, what are you doing going into Venezuela? And then 2 days later, they said, wow, that's fantastic. A lot of people are saying that with Iran already, because it would take them 25 years to rebuild already from what they have. And again, as you know, no Navy, no Air Force, no anti-aircraft, no radar, no nothing. I mean, and we, as you know, we just reinstituted I guess you could I call it the iron wall on the water. Nothing gets through. Nothing. Blockade. Nothing gets through. And they sort of have to make a deal. But we are talking to them. I think they're being serious. I think they are being by far the most serious that we've seen them. But that doesn't mean we get there. We'll see what happens. But I always prefer that alternative.
On July 24th, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi declared that any source of attacks against Iran would be considered a fully legitimate target for retaliation. Araghchi delivered these remarks while speaking at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's ministerial meeting, a gathering attended by top officials from Russia and China. Araghchi asserted firmly that Iran retains its full right to take all necessary self-defense measures against any nation that participates in aggression toward it. This pointed warning came directly after Trump had publicly stated he was considering launching a massive attack on Iran just a day earlier. On July 23rd, Trump told Channel 12 that this potential new operation could end up being significantly bigger in scale than the earlier Operation Epic Fury. Interestingly, Trump's threats emerged at the very same time Britain had already allowed American forces to use UK bases to launch strikes against Iran. Iranian lawmaker Ibrahim Azizi warned Britain that it could one day lose control of Diego Garcia. He issued the warning after Britain allowed US forces to use British bases during strikes on Iran. Ibrahim Azizi said, and I quote, "The era of Sykes-Picot is long over. The day is not far when you will lose Diego Garcia, like your other colonies. The UK would be wise to reflect on the fragility of its own borders and to recognize that Iran's capabilities extend far beyond military options," unquote. Azizi claimed Iran's capabilities now extend well beyond traditional military power. His remarks specifically singled out Diego Garcia, the key joint American-British military base in the Indian Ocean. The Iranian lawmaker accused Britain of expanding its role in the conflict by supporting US operations. Iran's foreign ministry described Britain's backing of US strikes as a violation of international law. Tehran warned that any country assisting attacks on Iran would face consequences. Iran also cited UN General Assembly Resolution 3314 while condemning Britain's decision. Separately, the IRGC declared that any bases used by US forces are legitimate military targets. Britain responded by saying its armed forces remain fully prepared to defend the country against any threat. UK government spokesperson said, and I quote, "Our armed forces are ready to keep the United Kingdom safe from any kind of attacks, whether it's on our soil or from abroad. The UK stands ready 24/7 to defend itself. This includes through operating a layered approach to air and missile defense, provided by Royal Navy, British Army and Royal Air Force assets equipped with a range of advanced capabilities, working closely with our NATO allies," unquote. The statement followed the IRGC's warning against allowing US bombers to operate from British military bases. On July 23rd, Iran strongly condemned Britain for allowing American forces to use bases on British soil to launch strikes against Iranian targets. Tehran reiterated firmly that any country found aiding military action against Iran, in any capacity, will inevitably face serious consequences for that decision.